Yo, what up? Welcome to Mo Boxing No Problem. I am Jose Morales Jr., and I am joined today with TJ from the Boxing Syndicate. What up, TJ? And we got Ruben from Through the Ropes. What up, Ruben?
What's up?
Another great weekend of boxing. You know, we had Cade Taylor Savannah Serrano, which lived up to all the hype. And, you know, Cade Taylor was the official winner, but I think both women came out on top that night. And we also had Oscar Valdez versus Shakur Stevenson for a unification fight at 130 pounds, which I believe was the first time we had a unification fight since like 2005. So very rare unification fight. And that also was a really good matchup. So let's get into that fight. And Ruben, I know you were in person. Can you tell us about the atmosphere and then what you thought of the fight overall?
It was a very dope atmosphere. You know, you had the hardcores out there. You had the Mexican fan base showed up, and Shakur had his people, and it was just really good. It was a really cool experience. Even though it was kind of a one-sided fight, just being there was cool for sure.
Sweet. And did it play out how you thought it was going to play out, Ruben?
Yeah, I thought he was going to, outbox him, and that's exactly what happened. But, I mean, I did also think, like, even though in a loss, it showed how good, for sure, it showed how great Shakur Stevenson is and how potentially how good he's going to be. I personally think he's going to be probably one of the best that I've ever seen do it. But it also showed in that loss how good Valdez was. Because to be able to keep up with Shakur, you know, like you gotta be good. So yeah, that was one of like my biggest takeaways. Like, yeah, Shakur dominated and whatnot, but it kind of did show what level Valdez was on. Shakur was up here, and Valdez is just
yeah. I'm with you. What about you, TJ? What were your impressions of the fight?
Yeah, same thing. Like, I kind of figured like it was going to go how it did. You know what I mean? Shakur just put on a dominant performance. But like you said, Oscar did show that, you know, he is on that elite level. You know what I mean? He did touch Shakur a couple of times. He landed some, decent right hands on him a couple of times that I'm sure Shakur felt. So, you know what I mean? To even do that, he's probably the hardest guy to hit in boxing, you could probably say. So to do that, he really did show, what type of level he was on. But like you said, I think Shakur is probably, by the end of it, he probably going to be one of the better guys ever, if you know what I mean, if he stays on this pace. So, he's definitely one of my favorite fighters right now.
Yeah, I mean, Shakur Stevenson with that performance against Valdez definitely stamped his name in the pound-for-pound list. I know, Ruben, we're talking about this, the winner make the pound-for-pound list. I think you have to put him on there after that performance. It was just so masterful. Whether you put him, just barely at 10 or somewhere kind of in the middle, I think it's fair game. And what I was surprised by is just how Shakur Stevenson is so skilled at controlling the range. Like, he always knew the space between him and Valdez. And every time Valdez took a step forward, Shakur took a step back to keep that distance the same. And he's so talented that he can make a really good or great boxer look ordinary. Like we saw with Nakatila, who he dominated and was pretty much a boring 12-round fight. And Nakatila came out against Berchelt and put on a great performance. Valdez, cool resume, quite the resume. Scott Quigg, Berchelt, he's been in some wars and he's a great fighter. And he looked, ordinary against Stevenson for the majority of fights. Although he did have success. I think there's that one round where he landed 15 punches, which was the most against anyone had landed on Stevenson. So really impressive both guys. I think Shakur has finally, announced the division. He's going to be the next star in boxing.
No, I for sure think so. I feel after the Canelo era is over, I feel it's going to be the Shakur era. I say 4 or 5 more years, and it's going to be his era.
Yeah, and he's kind of already starting to associate himself with Canelo in that pound-for-pound title. Because if you guys caught it, the post-fight interview, he was just like, I wanted to defeat Valdez, Canelo, and Eddie Reynoso. And he's like, and I did that. No. So he's already saying like he beat Canelo, and I think 5 years from now, he probably will be the number one pound-for-pound.
And he has the personality to be the face of boxing too. You know what I mean? Like, I know, like, he's great, has all the skills in the world, but he just doesn't have that personality.
Right.
Yeah.
Shakur just got the edge to him. And then, like, to be honest, I I mean, like you said, in 4 or 5 more years, he might be that number one guy because I really don't see who's going to beat him. Like, I really don't. Like, when I think about it, like, you know, he said him and Devin Haney might get it in a couple of years. I did hear him say that. That would be a really good one. I really like Devin Haney. He could put up a good fight. Obviously, him and Tank, you know, something like that. But even any one of those guys is going to be really difficult to beat, you know, really difficult to beat Shakur, you know what I mean? So I definitely see him, you know, especially at 130 pounds. I think he can go grab all the belts and just go undisputed in that division, you know, immediately. So, I mean, we'll see what's next for him in the future.
Yeah, for sure. And we'll get to that. But before we get to that, I did want to ask you guys about the Mayweather comparison because, you know, he's 24 years old and he's been getting the Mayweather comparison now for a few years. Do you think that his career path is going to follow kind of that trajectory where he's going to be that personality you root against and you watch to see him lose, or would he eventually be the kind of that likable champion?
No, I think people are going to hate on him.
I do too, just because, you know,
kind of like they did on Mayweather, yeah.
You know, like he has the personality to be a star, but it's kind of like that, you know, to a lot of people, I can see how he comes off a little arrogant, you know what I mean? But, you know, to a lot of us, it's probably like, that's just, you know, he's a boxer. He's putting on his entertainment, you know what I mean? But I could see to a lot of people, he come off arrogant and not humble or whatnot, you know what I mean? But I think that's kind of it's kind of like Floyd, you know what I mean? Talking, you know what I mean? That kind of personality can really help you out as far as like becoming a star or something like that. So.
Yeah, because like behind that camera, you know, it's like you said, it's entertainment. So you have to have a persona to sell. You know, you have to be colorful. I mean, and not going back to when I got the chance to meet him this time, because I met him. I've had the opportunity to meet him when he first won his first world title the night when he beat Joel Gonzalez. I was in attendance too. And I got to meet him, and he's always been like super cool, like in person, like when the cameras are not there, like super cool, super humble. And I like him though. I mean, the only reason I was cheering for Valdez was because, you know, I was getting a little biased. The little had some drinks, the Mexican came out, and you know. But yeah, I like Shakur, and you know, I feel like, you know, people really don't understand that you need to have that personality to sell.
Right.
Yeah, no, and absolutely.
And the Mayweather comparison is there definitely for a reason, because that boy is talented. There's no doubt about it.
That defense, man, it's unreal. It's unreal. And just to tie it back to the personality thing, you know, another one of like Shakur Stevenson's mentors early on was Andre Ward, another super talented fighter, but he didn't have that personality, that persona where you kind of root against him. So he didn't really break through and become a pay-per-view star. So if he follows that Mayweather blueprint, I think Shakur Stevenson is going to get there. He's going to get those pay-per-view buys for sure.
Definitely be the next big money guy. I mean, being the villain is kind of like what pays. It's just like, like at the weigh-in, you know what I mean? The Mexican crowd were booing Stevenson as soon as he came up to the scale. It's just like, and he embraced it, you know what I mean? So it's like that kind of attitude, I think, is just what's going to make him a lot of money. And, you know, the skills obviously going to do it anyway, but he's the next guy for sure.
Yeah.
Him and Jerron Ennis.
Yeah. Yeah, and then I found out that Stevenson's Puerto Rican, so he can always get some of the Puerto Rican people rallying behind him. That's a plus.
Yeah, no, for sure.
All right, so let's talk about what's next. We'll start off with the loser of the fight, Oscar Valdez. Still valiant performance. He went for it. You know, from the very first round, he was already committing onto his punches, but just came up short. So where does he go from here?
Navarrete, or Leo Santa Cruz.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah.
Navarrete, I think, is a difficult fight. I'm a big fan of Navarrete. I think that's a really difficult fight for Oscar, just because how lanky and long he is. Just his style, he's really awkward, just unpredictable. I think that's a really tough fight. I don't know if that's an easy one for him, but like we said earlier, Oscar Valdez is an elite guy. You know what I mean? He showed that yesterday with probably one of the best in the world right now. Obviously, we think he's a pound for pound guy, so you never know what can happen, but I agree with that. And then if Shakur ends up moving up, whenever, if Oscar decides to stay at 130, those belts are potentially his again. So,
That's true. And Stevenson did say Valdez will be champion again. So that's the ultimate compliment that he can pay for it. And I'm with you guys. I think Navarrete versus Valdez will be action packed, all Mexican war. I want to see it. I definitely want to see it. So hopefully Bob Arum, Top Rank, can make that happen.
Definitely.
Now, Shakur Stevenson, where does he go from here?
Undisputed.
Yeah, I was about to say, I think he goes for it, just collects all of them.
He's got 2 more belts, right? Was it the WBA
and
IBF?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think he just goes and collects them because I think he just grabs those in the same manner. He just grabbed the one from Valdez, and then if he moves up to 135, that's where I think his challenges start. You know what I mean? You know, the Haney's, the Ryan Garcias, if you know that, the Tanks, or something like that. So I think he can get undisputed at 130 easily.
I agree. So you guys are not giving any chance to the champions. So Roger Gutierrez and was it Kanisha Agiwa? No chance.
No chance. I'm sorry.
No chance. No. I mean, anything can happen, right? I mean, anything can happen, but it's a very low chance they can get that guy out of there.
I'm with you guys. And I think because Stevenson is so young, he's only 24. No need to rush him and have him go to the next weight class right now, trying to find that next challenge. Go ahead, let him get those 2 fights and become undisputed at 130, and then he can move up. So I'm with you guys.
That'll take what? How roughly? How do you think about 2 years, maybe a year and a half, 2 years to get those 2 fights?
Probably a year and a half.
Yeah. So that's a perfect time, and then he'll be around 26, 27. Then he can go to 135 or whatever challenges he want to take after that.
Yeah, which I mean, the 135 landscape may be different a year and a half, 2 years from now.
Yeah.
But basing off the current players now, do you guys see anyone at 135 that can trouble him? I know we mentioned Devin Haney, another talented fighter. You guys think Haney can trouble him or someone else in there?
I just don't see nobody beating that poor man.
He really is that good though. It's just he really is. It's just. But I do like Haney. I think they have a really similar style. You know, Haney likes to use a shoulder roll, that kind of Floyd type boxer style. So I think that'd be a fun fight just to see, them go tit for tat on, using their just different, their styles like that. But still, I just don't think Haney will hit him enough times. I think he'll try really hard. I just don't think he would hit him enough times to come out victorious. I think it'll go 12 rounds, a nice 12-round fight. I just don't think he can hit him. It's just hard to do.
Yeah, I mean that's a testament to Shakur Stevenson's talent. Like we're all saying that no one at 130 gives him trouble, and no one at 135 is going to give him trouble. So I think at 140 we're talking about now, and it started becoming more of a size thing than a skill thing because Stevenson just a master boxer for sure.
Yeah. I wouldn't mind a tank, a tank at 135, or what I mean. That wouldn't be bad. I even with tank style though, I don't think you hit him. I don't know.
That's the big one. You got to hit him. You can have all the power in the world, but you got to hit him.
That's the only thing.
Yeah, I just want to add a real quick. What's it called? It was the first time that division got unified since 2005, and Shakur Stevenson joined great company, and then Marco Antonio Barrera because he was the last one to do it. So that's just a little fun note. I like throwing it out there.
Absolutely.
Barrera's one of my favorite fighter of all time. So I like to throw that out there.
And Barrera's in the Hall of Fame, right?
Yeah.
There you go. So Stevenson's on his way.
On his way.
If his career keeps on this trajectory, future Hall of Famer, and like we said, in 4 or 5 years, could be the number 1 pound for pound guy.
Yep.
Sweet. All right. Well, any more thoughts, guys, before we close it out?
No, just. I had to say all I had to say.
Yeah, I think all right. We know what Shakur can do. Hopefully we get another Serrano Taylor fight. That'd be dope. And we got Canelo coming up this week too, so that'd be dope too. So
that's gonna be a good one. All right, guys. Well, let's do the outro. TJ, where can people find you?
Yep, y'all can follow me at the Boxing Syndicate on Instagram, and then we do got the podcast on YouTube, the Boxing Unfiltered podcast. We'll probably drop an episode similar to this too this week, so we'll let you guys know. And then you guys can find me over here.
That's what's up. And Ruben, where can people find you?
On Through the Ropes on YouTube and on Instagram.
Perfect. Well, both of you guys, much success to your channels. I'll see you doing their thing. And thank you so much for joining me and talking about Valdez Stevenson.
Yes.
Catch you again next week.
Thank you. Peace out, man.
All right. Later, guys.